Washington Congressman Adam Smith is the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. His district stretches from Mercer Island to Kent, Federal Way and Auburn, and points in between. He joins us in our Seattle studios to discuss the latest happenings in D.C. Congressman, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for giving me the chance.
So the GOP tax and spending law pushed by President Trump makes dramatic cuts to Medicaid and other social services, as well as to clean energy and environmental programs. You opposed it, as did every other Democrat. Tell us a little bit about your no vote.
Yeah, it's a horrible piece of legislation that takes us in the wrong direction. And there's only one thing in the bill that I could find that I thought was a decent idea. First of all, let's start with the fact that it adds $3.5 trillion to the debt. And this is not where most people normally go. But the sheer volume of tax cuts that they put in place are going to make it very, very difficult to fund priorities that I think most of America has, around healthcare, around education, policies that definitely need to be supported. Well, we just added $3.5 trillion to debt, locked in a bunch of tax cuts that I don't believe we need in this economy. And so that's going to be a huge problem. And then the biggest cuts obviously are to Medicaid and to food programs.
There was a podcast interview you did recently with Jen Rubin, the Contrarian. You said Americans have come to demand $2 of goods and services for every dollar they're willing to pay in taxes. Do you think Americans should lower their expectations for what the government can provide?
Yes. I think we need to get to a more realistic place. I also think politicians campaigning need to stop promising something for nothing.
To foreign policy, since the U.S. airstrikes on Iran nuclear facilities back in June, the conflict has kind of been overtaken by other stories in the news. What are you hearing as far as the damage that those strikes did, as far as Iran's nuclear capabilities and how effective they may have been?
They set Iran's program back probably quite a bit, but keep in mind quite a bit is like a year or two. All right. And that, seems like a long time until that year passes. And then what do you do about Iran's nuclear program? I did not support the attack on Iran. I don't think it was legal. I don't think there was a justification for it. There was no self-defense argument. There was no congressional approval. B, it was incredibly risky to drag the U.S. into a conflict. And C, I didn't think it was going to eliminate Iran's nuclear program. We still need a diplomatic solution.
NPR has done some reporting that revealed that the Trump administration is preparing to use military bases in New Jersey and Indiana as detention sites for undocumented immigrants who are in custody. Is this a proper use of those resources?
No. Let me take a step back for just a moment to let everyone know a lot of the questions and where we're going. I think you have to put it into the frame that Donald Trump is attempting an authoritarian takeover of our government. That's what's going on, and I don't think we should be shy about saying it. Now, you tie that back to your question of what he's doing with the U.S. military. First of all, he's spending an enormous amount of money on that, which is undermining the readiness of our United States military to meet the national security defense needs that we have. But second of all, by making our military part of what is basically domestic law enforcement, is a clear consolidation of power in the executive branch and a clear threat to individual freedom.
There was a recent report that said there were 275 immigration arrests in the state of Washington in June, and 2/3 of those individuals had no criminal past or criminal background. Is there something that Congress can do to try to hold the Trump administration to what they campaigned on? Was that they're going to round up folks who have a criminal record who are here without documentation?
Absolutely, there's something we can do. I mean, the problem is we need Republican votes to do it. But I do think that we make the border secure. And yes, if you have people here undocumented who are committing serious crimes and jeopardizing the safety, they should be deported too. But the point is, the people who are here undocumented, we have been dependent upon undocumented labor for decades. These people are part of our community. They pay taxes, their kids go to school, they're active in the civic community. It is not the right policy to deport them.
How bad is it going to have to get before some of your Republican colleagues realize how much damage this is doing to the American workforce?
Well, that is an outstanding question, and that is the central challenge that we have. Because two things get in the way of that. One, Donald Trump is an outstanding liar. He's one of the best liars I've ever encountered in my life. And he will say, everything's fine. There's no problem here. What are you talking about? Everybody loves what we're doing. You know the riff. And so they will keep that up, and Republicans will hide behind that, number one. Number two, they're afraid of Trump. They're afraid of Trump in primaries. A number of us have said for a lot of months now, we got to get to the point where Republican members of Congress fear their constituents more than they fear Donald Trump. And that's going to take some work.
Congressman Adam Smith, thanks so much for your time and insight.
Well, thanks for giving me the chance.